Hey guys, tonight we leave behind the familiar campfires of Homo erectus and Neanderthals and step back even farther than most people imagine when they think of prehistory. The year isn't in the thousands or even the millions, but in the realm of 3.3 million years ago. You are standing in what is now northern Kenya, in a place called Lomekwi. The air is heavy with heat, a sun so bright it bleaches the stones pale, and the sound of insects hums endlessly. Sparse thorn trees claw the sky, and a river cuts sluggishly through the valley, its edges littered with animal prints. It looks like a world stripped down to its bones. No villages, no fire pits, no language, just animals and the occasional small upright figure moving awkwardly across the savannah. And there, near a scatter of rocks, something extraordinary is happening. A pair of hands. Not chimpanzee hands, not yet human hands, as you know them, but something in between, pick up a stone the size of a melon. The fingers curl, the wrist twists, and crack. The stone slams against another. Chips fly. Dust fills the air. Again, crack, a flake shears away, leaving a sharper edge. It doesn't look like much, but this is it. The oldest known evidence of deliberate tool making. These aren't random rocks broken by chance. Someone here, in this blistering savannah, has realized that one stone can shape another, that sharp edges can slice flesh, open marrow, strip bark. That thought alone changes the course of everything that comes after. Of course, it's not glamorous. You probably won't survive this moment if you just stand around gawking. Lions still prowl nearby. Crocodiles still wait in the river mud, and the little hominin striking these stones, maybe an Australopithecus afarensis, maybe some early Homo ancestor, wouldn't look like much of a savior. Barely taller than your chest, with long arms and a jutting brow, this creature is just beginning to flex the mental muscle that will one day give rise to cities and smartphones. The first flakes lie scattered in the dust. Pick one up. It's sharper than glass in places, with an edge so fine it can cut your fingertip if you're careless. To modern eyes it looks crude, but for the first toolmaker this edge is revelation. It's the difference between teeth tearing at a carcass and a blade slicing cleanly through hide. It's the first taste of control over the environment. Archaeologists who uncovered these stones at Lomekwi found them near animal bones bearing scratches, cut marks too precise to be made by teeth. Imagine the scene: a zebra carcass, partly eaten by predators, left in the sun. A small hominin approaches, flakes in hand, sawing at the tough hide. Flies swarm, vultures circle, but for the first time, meat that would have been unreachable is cut free. Calories are gained, marrow sucked from bone, the brain, greedy for fuel, grows ever so slightly stronger. And here's a modern aside. When you fumble with IKEA furniture, remember this moment. The very idea of shaping one object to change another began here. The do-it-yourself tradition has been alive for millions of years, except these folks didn't have an Allen key or instruction booklet. The striking is clumsy. Many flakes are useless, too thick, too blunt. But even mistakes matter, because every flake teaches something. Strike harder, strike softer, aim for the edge. A child might sit nearby, eyes wide, watch tomorrow. That child will imitate the strikes, fumbling, failing, then succeeding. Knowledge will spread, not by instinct, but by demonstration. That's culture, in its infancy. As the sun sinks, the little group scatters. The stones remain, sharp edges glinting in fading light. They will lie buried for millions of years, until modern scientists brush the dust away and gasp at what they've found. The dawn of technology. You squat there, the flakes gritty in your palm, and realize you've just witnessed the first deliberate spark of invention. Not fire, not art, not language, but this, the shaping of stone. Humanity's mind has struck its first blow, and the sound of it still echoes across time. The next morning the sun is sharp again, heating the stones until they sting your skin when you touch them. You sit on the ground beside one of these early tool makers, watching as they grip a rounded cobble in both hands. The strikes are not graceful, more thuds than cuts, more trial than mastery, but there is intent in every blow. This isn't random smashing anymore. It's the slow shift from pounding to precision. The early tools you see here aren't knives in the modern sense, but they work. They're flakes with edges sharp enough to strip bark, crack open nuts, or carve through tendon. The action is clumsy, yes, but think about what's happening inside that skull. The thought must come first. If I strike this stone in a certain way, I can make it sharp. If it's sharp, I can make it useful. That's a chain of reasoning. That's the embryo of logic. At first, these flakes are probably just extensions of pounding. After all, chimpanzees smash nuts open with rocks, and capuchin monkeys do the same. But here, in these clumsy strikes, is a subtle difference. After the smash, the hominin notices the shard. They don't just throw it aside, they pick it up, turn it over, and realize the broken piece is sharper than the whole. That moment of awareness is revolutionary. Now imagine the ripple effect. One flake slices meat from a zebra faster than teeth could. Another scrapes hides cleaner. Another cracks marrow bones without shattering them into useless dust. The more flakes they make, the more refined their strikes become. Over generations, the pounding turns into technique. This is the birth of the Oldowan toolkit. You lean in close. The hands at work are rough, fingers thick, nails cracked. The knuckles bear scars from past mistakes, missed strikes that gouged skin instead of stone. But repetition breeds skill. Every error whispers a lesson. Hold the cobble tighter, angle the strike lower, aim for the ridge. Slowly, awkward pounding transforms into a craft. The debris field grows at the toolmaker's feet. Some flakes are razor thin, gleaming in the sunlight. Others are chunky, awkward. Still, each one is a step forward. And then it happens. A clean strike. A flake sharp enough to shave wood. Thin enough to slice hide with ease. The toolmaker grunts, pleased. You realize this is more than accident. It's progress. It's easy to underestimate these shards. They look like broken glass. But think about what they unlock. Meat carved from a carcass before lions return. Roots dug up faster than bare hands could manage. Skins scraped clean to use as coverings. Each task saves time, saves energy, saves lives. Every edge carries calories, protection, survival. And here's your cheeky aside. You might brag about your multi-tool or Swiss Army knife, but your ancestors had the original stone flakes. They were sharp, portable, and never needed charging. The downside? No corkscrew. But hey, priorities were different back then. Children sit nearby, imitating with pebbles. Their strikes miss, chips scatter uselessly, but they're learning by watching. This is not instinct coded in DNA. It's culture knowledge passed from eye to hand, from generation to generation. The pounding becomes precision, because it is remembered, repeated, refined. As the sun lowers, the group moves on, carrying their sharpest flakes in crude satchels made of hide. The discarded pieces remain, littering the ground in a scatter that will one day tell archaeologists, here intelligence was born. You rub a flake between your fingers, careful not to slice yourself, and feel the truth settle in. Intelligence is not always about sudden leaps. Sometimes it's about noticing the accident, repeating it, and turning chaos into craft. The pounding of rocks has become the deliberate shaping of tools, and the world will never be the same. The days stretch on, the sun rising and falling over the endless savanna, and you begin to notice something gnawing at the edge of your mind. Who actually made these first tools? You crouch in the dust, flakes scattered around you, and realize the answer isn't as simple as you'd like. Some scientists point to Australopithecus afarensis, the same species as the famous Lucy. Small-bodied, long-armed, ape-like in many ways, yet smart enough perhaps to pick up stones and smash them with intent. At Lomekwi in Kenya, where those 3.3-million-year-old flakes were found, Australopithecus still roamed. Could Lucy's cousins have been the world's first tool makers? The idea feels strange, an ape-like figure crouched with stone in hand, making the first technological spark. Others argue it was already a form of early Homo, maybe Homo habilis, handyman, who appeared around 2.4 million years ago. With slightly bigger brains and smaller teeth, habilis seems a better candidate for deliberate repeated tool making. After all, It's right there in the name, handy. But here's the problem. The Lomekwi tools are older than the earliest known Homo fossils. That pushes the mystery deeper. You sit back and look at the scattered flakes, and you realize it may not matter whether it was Australopithecus or early Homo. What matters is the thinking. Some brain, not much larger than a chimpanzee's, crossed a threshold no other creature had crossed before, shaping one object deliberately to change another. The act itself is the revolution, no matter who struck the blow. Imagine the scene. An Australopithecus crouches by a carcass, awkwardly sharpens a flake, and slices flesh from bone. Meanwhile, in another valley, a Homo habilis chips stone more carefully, handing the flakes to his children. Different species, different moments, but the same spark. Intelligence doesn't erupt overnight. It smoulders, catches in different branches, flares up slowly across time. Here's your cheeky reminder. Debates over who did it first aren't just modern academic squabbles. Your ancestors were probably having their own Stone Age arguments. See that flake? I made that. No, my grandmother was the first to do it. Human ego has been around as long as sharp rocks. The fossils add fuel to the mystery. Cut-marked bones from Ethiopia suggest tool use 3.4 million years ago, older than Homo habilis. Yet by 2.6 million years ago, we clearly see the Oldowan industry, widespread and deliberate, linked to early Homo, so perhaps Australopithecus dabbled, and Homo refined. The line between them blurs, a handoff across millennia. You sit in the dust, the flake cool in your palm, and the question lingers. Was it Lucy's kin, or habilis, or some other yet unknown ancestor who struck the first stone? No one alive today can say with certainty, but the echoes are clear. By this point, someone, some upright, curious, hungry creature, looked at a rock and saw possibility. As the sun dips, you watch a young one repeat the act, fumbling but determined. Whether Australopithecus or Homo, the story is the same. The mystery of the first toolmakers isn't about a name carved on a timeline. It's about the moment the mind lit up with intent. And once that light appeared, it never went out. The savannah is quieter this evening. Wind brushing through the tall grass, birds darting low across the river. You're crouched near a group of small figures clustered around a zebra carcass. The smell hits you first. Iron-rich blood, souring in the heat, thick with flies, and then you see it. Sharp flakes slicing into hide, cutting tendons, scraping fat. This is no accident. This is the Oldowan tradition in action. It begins with Homo habilis. About 2.6 million years ago, these handy men take the clumsy pounding of their ancestors and refine it into a recognizable craft. You watch as one holds a rounded hammerstone in one hand, striking a larger core rock at just the right angle. Crack! A flake shears off thin, sharp, functional. The maker examines it, tests the edge with a thumb, then gets to work. Around them, flakes and shattered stone litter the ground like prehistoric shrapnel. The tools themselves are humble. Flakes for cutting, scrapers for cleaning hides, choppers for smashing bone, but the intent is profound. Each one is shaped for a task. Imagine the thought behind it. This edge cuts meat. This one smashes bone. This thick one scrapes skin. That's not instinct. That's categorization. The mental act of assigning functions to objects. Now watch what happens when they use them. A habilis kneels by the zebra's ribcage, slicing meat away in long strips. The flakes cut faster than teeth, cleaner than nails. Another smashes a femur with a hammerstone, the bone cracking like thunder. Marrow glistens, pale and fatty, scooped out with eager fingers. The calories are immense. Fuel for bodies, fuel for brains. This is survival turned into a system. Oldowan tools spread across Africa, found at countless sites from Ethiopia to Tanzania. Each scatter of flakes is a signature of thought, proof that someone stood here, worked here, ate here, and the rhythm is unmistakable. Strike, flake, cut, eat, over and over, thousands of times. A culture of stone is taking root, and it will endure for nearly 1 million years. Imagine that. A toolkit so reliable it outlasts entire species. But don't romanticize it too much. Tool making is messy. Stones slip, Flakes cut fingers, blood mixes with dust. You watch a child wince as a sharp edge slices his palm. His mother pulls him close, presses the wound against her leg, then shows him again how to strike properly. Mistakes become lessons. Lessons become memory. Memory becomes tradition. And here's your cheeky thought. You might laugh at a modern YouTube how-to video, but this is the original tutorial. One hominin showing another how to make an edge sharp enough to keep you alive. No views, no likes, just survival. As night falls, the group gathers the best flakes, carrying them tucked into hides. They'll move on tomorrow, following the herds. But the scatter of broken rock remains, a fossilized workshop, waiting millions of years for someone to uncover it. You sit in the cooling air, the echoes of hammerstone against core still ringing in your ears. This is the Oldowan revolution. Simple flakes, sharp edges, and the first true industry of the human mind. From here on, intelligence won't just survive. It will shape the world, one strike at a time. The zebra carcass is gone now, dragged off by hyenas in the night. But the bones they left behind still gleam in the sun. You walk closer, crouch, and see something that makes you catch your breath. Long parallel scratches score the bone's surface, running in neat lines. These aren't tooth marks, they're cut marks, slices made by stone tools. You're looking at the hard proof of intelligence, written directly into fossilized bone. Imagine the scene when those marks were made. A group of Homo habilis approaches a lion's kill after the predators have eaten their fill. The air is thick with rot and buzzing flies. The lions are gone, but danger isn't far. Time is short. With flakes in hand, the humans slice quickly, carving away the scraps left clinging to ribs and limbs. The stone edges bite into hide and flesh, leaving scratches that sink into the bone. In their rush to eat, they accidentally sign their presence into the fossil record. You touch the grooves with your fingertip, feeling the ridges even after millions of years. They are like a message across time. We were here. We thought. We cut. We ate. These marks aren't random. They tell a story of sequence. First, predators killed the animal, then scavengers. Humans moved in with tools sharp enough to cut through hide that even vultures struggled with. The marks overlap, tooth gouges, proving that humans weren't the top hunters yet. They were opportunists, slipping in after the giants had left, using intelligence to grab what raw strength denied them. But the scratches also reveal something else. They show where the flakes were dragged, how they were angled, how the user pressed down. Each stroke is a fossilized memory of a hand's movement, a brain's decision. You can almost see the person crouched low, arm working furiously, eyes darting to the horizon in fear of approaching hyenas. And here's your cheeky thought. This is history's first receipt. Every cut mark is like a line item, one serving of zebra flank, one marrow bone cracked. Archaeologists just happen to be the unlucky accountants reading them millions of years later. The marrow is the true prize. You watch as one habilis grips a femur, hefts a hammerstone, and slams it down. The crack echoes, the bone splinters. Inside, soft fatty marrow glistens like pale honey. Fingers scoop it out, smear it across lips, share it with children. The taste is rich, greasy, the calories dense. Without marrow, brains wouldn't grow. Without stone, marrow wouldn't be reached. Children watch, learning not just the strikes but the timing, when to move in after predators, how to recognize which bones hold the most reward. Each lesson is burned into memory, reinforced by hunger and survival. When the meal is over, bones lie scattered, some cracked, others marked with deep scratches. Predators return to gnaw them, but the human signature remains carved forever. Millions of years later, paleontologists kneel in the same dust, reading those scratches like lines in a book. The Oldowan flakes may look crude, but their legacy is sharp, etched permanently in bone. With every cut, the world records that humans were thinking, planning, acting. With every marrow meal, the brain grew heavier, with fuel, the spark of intelligence brighter. And as the sun sets, you sit with the habilis, bellies full, flakes tucked into hides, cut marks left behind. You realize you've just seen the first diary entries of the human mind, written not in ink, but in scratches on ancient bones. The smell of marrow still lingers on your hands as you follow the group across the plain. The air is hot, but the pace is urgent. They are not predators striding with confidence. They are opportunists. Shadows trailing the true rulers of the savannah. Lions, leopards, hyenas. Each step forward is a gamble. But the gamble is working, because tools are beginning to tip the odds. You watch them approach a carcass, the ribcage of a wildebeest collapsed in the grass, vultures squabbling over it. The humans shout, wave arms, fling stones. The birds scatter reluctantly, and the habilis rush in. Within moments, flakes are biting, tendons snapping, meat pulled free. It's a desperate, hurried harvest, but it works. For the first time, scavengers have become competitors. The tools don't turn them into apex hunters overnight, but they expand possibilities. Now, instead of waiting for scraps, they can cut hides too tough for teeth, saw through sinew, smash bones that predators leave behind. Calories flow where once there were none. The brain, always hungry, devours the reward. And slowly, something changes. The more they succeed, the bolder they grow. At first, they follow the lions from a distance, snatching remains. Then they begin to arrive earlier, using stones to intimidate scavengers, sometimes even driving predators off a half-finished kill. It's risky. Hyenas bite back, but the line between scavenger and hunter blurs. One day you see it. A small band approaches a group of antelope, drinking at the river. Instead of waiting, they creep forward, stones in hand. A sudden rush, shouts, thrown cobbles. The antelope scatter, one slips, breaks a leg. The humans are on it, stabbing with sharp flakes, bludgeoning with heavy claws. It's clumsy, chaotic, but effective. Tonight, the meal is theirs from the beginning. This is the moment intelligence becomes a weapon. The tools that once scraped leftovers now make prey possible. Meat is no longer just a lucky find. It's a target. And here's your cheeky reminder. Next time you reach for a kitchen knife, thank these ancestors. They turned rocks into steak knives long before rare, medium or well done was an option. Though to be fair, everything was rare, since fire hasn't been mastered yet. The hunt reshapes the group itself. Cooperation sharpens as much as the stones. One distracts, another throws, another finishes. Children watch wide-eyed, learning not just to nap flakes but to time their rush, to recognize weakness in prey. Success depends on trust, on shared effort, on remembering yesterday's hunt to prepare for tomorrow's. And with success comes status. You notice how the one who strikes the final blow struts with pride, chest puffed. Others glance his way, respect in their eyes. Tools don't just feed bodies. They shape hierarchy. Night falls, and the band gathers around the carcass. The smell of raw meat is strong, the sound of tearing flesh louder than the chirp of crickets. They gorge quickly, nervously, always glancing into the dark. But you see something else too. Mothers pass scraps to children, hunters to elders. The flakes made this possible, but cooperation makes it sustainable. As you lie back in the grass, the stars bright overhead, you realize you've watched a transformation. Scavengers have learned to hunt. Tools have shifted from passive helpers to active weapons, and intelligence has proven its edge, not in fangs or claws, but in the strange, deliberate strike of stone against stone. The carcass is picked clean, bones cracked and scattered, vultures circling back in to take what's left. But what lingers isn't just the meal, it's the memory. You walk with the group as they move on, and you begin to notice how the young ones are watching. Their eyes track every strike of stone, every swing of a hammerstone, every slice of meat. Curiosity as much as hunger keeps them close. One boy squats in the dust, fumbling with a rounded cobble. He lifts it high, smacks it against another, and winces when nothing happens. He tries again too hard. The rock splits uselessly. He growls in frustration. But his mother is beside him, guiding, demonstrating. She strikes slowly, deliberately, showing the angle, the force. This isn't instinct. This is teaching. For the first time, knowledge doesn't vanish when one life ends. It is passed on, generation to generation, through demonstration and imitation. The culture of stone has begun. You watch the boy try again, more carefully this time. Crack! A thin flake shears away. His eyes widen. He holds it up, grins a toothy grin. He waves it to his siblings. Proud. They crowd around, reaching for it, eager to touch, to copy. The moment isn't just skill, it's connection. And here's your cheeky thought. This is humanity's first tutorial. No textbooks, no YouTube how-to videos, just trial, error, and parental nagging. No, not like that. Hold it tighter. Watch me. The learning curve hasn't changed much in 3 million years. Learning shapes more than tools. It shapes bonds. Elders become valued for their knowledge, not just their strength. Children become apprentices. Families become schools. Around the fire, young ones mimic the gestures of the day, acting out the hunt, rehearsing the strikes, giggling when their pretend flakes fall flat. Every night becomes a lesson, every failure a step forward. And with learning comes variation. Some children strike harder, others lighter. Some produce thinner flakes, sharper edges. Mistakes sometimes lead to improvements, new shapes, new methods. Innovation is born not from a single genius, but from 100 clumsy children fumbling with stones until something better emerges. By watching these exchanges, you realize intelligence is not just inside the brain, it's between brains, passed along invisible threads of teaching. A group that teaches survives. A group that forgets starves. The next day, as the band moves toward a river, you see the boy again. This time, when the group finds a carcass, he's ready. He holds his flake awkwardly, but determinedly, and with clumsy strokes, he saws at the hide. It works. His siblings cheer. His mother nods. The lesson has taken root. The flakes may look like scraps of stone, but to him they are proof of belonging, of competence, of identity. He has crossed from watching to doing, and the pride shines in his eyes. As night falls, you sit among them, the chatter of children, mixing with the crackle of fire. You feel it clearly. The true invention here isn't just stone, it's teaching. The human mind has found a way to outlive the body, to hand memory from one life into the next. The next morning dawns cool, the light spilling over the horizon in pale gold. You rise with the group, stretching aching limbs, and as you move with them across the scrub, something becomes clear. Intelligence is no longer just in the sharpness of a stone flake or the precision of a child's imitation. It's in the bonds between people. Watch closely. A mother shares scraps of meat with a hungry elder whose teeth are worn to stubs. A young hunter lingers at the back of the group, carrying a child who cannot yet walk. Two men walk side by side, swapping flakes, testing edges, nodding approval. These aren't random acts. They are threads of cooperation, binding individuals into a web of trust. The brain thrives on this web. Unlike lions, who hunt in coordinated bursts but return to compete savagely over the kill, humans begin to specialize in sharing. When one eats, others eat. When one carries, others rest. Survival becomes less about the individual and more about the group. The calories from marrow and meat feed more than bodies. They feed relationships. And those relationships demand thought. Who deserves a share? Who carried the child? Who risked most in the hunt? The calculations aren't written down, but they live in every glance, every gesture. The mind stretches to track loyalties, debts, rivalries. This is the slow birth of what scientists call the social brain. A mind evolved not only to solve problems with stones, but to solve problems with people. You notice grooming too. Two women squat together, fingers picking lice from each other's hair. It's not just hygiene, it's a ritual of trust. Each touch says, "We are allies. You belong with me." It's the Stone Age version of friendship bracelets, though far itchier. And of course, tension simmers too. At the carcass, two young males snarl at each other over a fatty scrap. One lunges, the other snaps back. Voices rise, hands shove. For a moment, it's chaos. But then, an older female slaps a hand across one fighter's chest, growls a sharp warning, and the tension collapses. Conflict resolution, simple, physical, but real. Without it, the group would fracture, and fractured groups don't survive. Around the fire at night, the bonds deepen. Children tumble together in play, mock fighting, mimicking the adults' hunts. Their shrieks of laughter fill the darkness, and you realize play is more than fun. It's rehearsal, cooperation in miniature, practice for the alliances, and conflicts of adulthood. Here's your cheekier side. Think of this as humanity's first social network. No profiles, no followers, but constant status updates. Who shared meat? Who picked lice? Who got into a fight? Gossip isn't an annoyance. It's survival. And slowly, through all these interactions, intelligence grows. The group remembers who gave, who took, who led, who failed. Memory becomes currency. Trust becomes power. Leadership emerges not just from muscle, but from reputation. You lie back by the fire, embers glowing, and see the truth. The real edge isn't only in the stone flakes. It's in the invisible connections linking person to person. Intelligence isn't just about shaping rocks, it's about shaping relationships. And in those bonds, the human mind finds its sharpest weapon yet. The seasons shift. Rains carve the valleys, rivers swell and shrink, herds move across the plains. You follow along carrying sharp flakes and memories of hunts past. But tonight, crouched in the dust with the group, you hear a sound different from the old Owen crack of random flakes. The strikes are more deliberate, the rhythm steadier, the results cleaner. You glance down and your eyes widen. In one pair of hands lies not just a flake, but a hand axe. This is the Acheulean Revolution, beginning nearly 1.7 million years ago with Homo erectus. These are not crude shards split off by accident. They are almond-shaped, sharp along both edges, balanced in the palm, symmetrical, elegant, even beautiful. Where old Owen flakes were opportunistic, Acheulean tools are purposeful. The toolmaker isn't just reacting to stone. He is imagining the final form before he strikes. Watch him work. He turns the core in his hand, strikes just off the edge, flakes peeling away like slices of glass. Each blow follows the last, angled just so, until the stone tapers to a point. The rhythm is hypnotic. Tap, 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 and slowly the rough block transforms into a blade. He lifts it to the firelight, turns it, nods with satisfaction. This is craftsmanship. You take one into your own hand. It fits snugly, heavy, but balanced. The edges bite into your palm if you grip carelessly. This isn't a disposable flake. It's a multi-purpose tool, a prehistoric Swiss Army knife. It can butcher an antelope, dig a root, chop a branch, scrape a hide. Carried from camp to camp, it becomes a companion, a lifeline. And here's your cheeky observation. The Acheulean hand axe is humanity's first viral design. From Africa to Europe, to India, across more than 1 million years, the same shape appears. If Instagram existed back then, hand axes would have been the trending aesthetic, but the real significance is deeper. The hand axe demands planning. To strike a stone into symmetry, you must hold an image of the end product in your mind. That's abstract thought, foresight, imagination. The maker doesn't just see a rock, he sees what it could become. That's intelligence in action. The teaching grows too. Young ones crowd around, imitating, fumbling, failing. Elders demonstrate patiently, correcting, guiding. Each generation refines the craft, carrying it forward like a flame. And unlike flakes which break and scatter, hand axes endure. Archaeologists today find them in clusters, some sites littered with hundreds, proof of workshops where groups once sat together, chipping stone for days. By night, the new axes glint by the fire, prized possessions laid close at hand. Hunters stroke their edges, proud of their symmetry. Mothers use them to slice roots and hides. Children gaze at them as if they hold magic, and in a way they do, the magic of thought made solid, imagination turned to stone. The Acheulean hand axe isn't just sharper, it is a mirror of the mind, proof that humans are no longer content with the accidental. They are designing, envisioning, creating. You lean back under the stars, the weight of a hand axe heavy in your palm, and realize This isn't just a tool, it's a milestone. Intelligence has taken form, balanced and gleaming, ready to carve the future out of stone. The fire is glowing low tonight, and the hand axe you hold gleams faintly in the orange light. You turn it over, running your fingers along its edges, and you can't help but notice something remarkable. It isn't just sharp, it's symmetrical, perfectly balanced. Its two sides mirror each other like wings of a butterfly. For the first time, the human mind is showing not just utility, but aesthetic foresight. Making one of these Achillean hand axes is not simple. You've watched the strikes before. Tap tap, crack. But here the rhythm is calculated. Each flake removed shapes. Not only the edge, but the overall design. The maker must see the finished form before the first blow is struck, holding it in the mind's eye like an architect imagining a house before laying the foundation. This is abstract thought. You watch as a young one attempts the same. His strikes are too clumsy. The symmetry off. He frowns, discards the botched core, and tries again. An elder squats beside him, demonstrating the correct angle, the precise force. It's patient, careful teaching, the kind of instruction that requires more than instinct. It requires memory, imagination, and the will to pass knowledge forward. When the boy finally shapes a passable hand axe, pride glows in his face. He waves it toward his peers, who grunt in approval. It's not just a tool, it's a rite of passage, a marker of competence. Intelligence here isn't locked inside the individual, it's communal, reinforced and celebrated. Think about what symmetry means. Animals use tools occasionally, chimps with sticks, crows with hooks, but none aim for beauty. Only here, in your hands, do you feel a tool that looks right. The symmetry may serve function, balanced weight, cleaner edges, but it also whispers of something new, an appreciation for form. The brain is not just surviving, it's judging. Archaeologists today marvel at these tools. Some are so finely made, they seem almost ceremonial, far sharper and more polished than daily survival would require. Were they status symbols, gifts, objects of pride? You can almost imagine the prehistoric equivalent of someone saying, "Look at mine, it's sleeker than yours." Humanity's first humble spark of competition in craftsmanship. And here's a cheeky reminder. You think your phone upgrades too often. Hand axes stayed in style for over 1 million years. No new models, no yearly releases, just one iconic design perfected again and again. Apple could never. By night, the group gathers around the fire, their hand axes laid beside them. Hunters use them to slice meat, mothers to trim hides, children to poke at embers with the blunt ends. But when the work is done, the axes remain close, treasured. They are more than tools. They are symbols of skill, of intelligence, of belonging to a species that sees not just what is, but what could. The fire pops, sparks rising into the night sky. You hold the hand axe tighter, its symmetry perfect in your palm, and you realize intelligence is no longer just about cutting, scraping, or pounding. It is about imagining a shape and bringing it to life. It is the leap from survival to creation, and from here, there will be no turning back. The night passes, and when dawn breaks, you find yourself walking with the group along a riverbank. The sun glitters on the water, and in the hands of nearly every figure around you is the same thing, a hand axe. Some are newly chipped, edges still sharp and dangerous to touch. Others are worn smooth from years of use, their symmetry dulled but their function intact. The Achillean toolkit is no longer just an invention. It's a tradition carried wherever humans go, and they are going far. Around 1.8 million years ago, Homo erectus began leaving Africa, carrying fire and hand axes into the wider world. Imagine the scene. Small bands pushing north into unfamiliar landscapes, across the Levant, into the grassy plains of Asia, the forests of Europe. In each place, the terrain shifts. New plants, new predators, new climates, but the tools remain the same. At sites thousands of kilometers apart, archaeologists find identical hand axes, as if stamped from the same mold. That's the wonder of this moment. The tool itself becomes a kind of passport, proof of continuity across continents. No matter where they roam, Humans strike stone into the same shape. It's not just invention, it's identity. You watch them approach a herd of deer in a misty European valley. The air smells of wet leaves, colder than anything in Africa. Breath clouds rise from their mouths as they creep forward. With sharpened spears tipped by stone, they circle, drive the herd into a narrow pass, and strike. The hunt succeeds, because the tools work as well here as they did on the savannah. The leap into new lands is possible, not because humans grew claws or fangs, but because they carried imagination in stone. And here's a cheeky thought. Think of these tools as the first apps. Universal, portable, adaptable. Whether you're butchering an antelope in Africa or a deer in Europe, the hand axe is the software update that works anywhere. The spread of these tools also tells another story. Communication. It's not enough for one group to invent, for hand axes to appear everywhere. Knowledge had to travel, whether by migration, imitation, or teaching across groups. The same rhythm of strikes echoes in Africa, Asia, Europe, over hundreds of thousands of years. That's not coincidence. That's cultural transmission on a global scale. You notice too how these tools multiply tasks. With axes, groups can cut branches, dig roots, scrape hides, split bones, carve shelters. They are no longer limited by bare hands. The tool expands what's possible in any environment, making migration not just survivable, but sustainable. At night, in a cave tucked against the cold, you see a cluster of hand axes piled neatly near the fire. Children roll smaller ones in their palms, pretending to strike the air. Elders explain through gestures how to angle the blows. The tool has become tradition, its shape etched not only into stone but into memory. As you lie back, the fire warming your skin, you realize what these scattered artifacts mean. Intelligence has gone global, no longer confined to one valley or one band. It spreads across continents, carving its mark into every new landscape. Wherever humans go, stone edges glint in the firelight, whispering the same message. We think, we imagine, we endure. The river valleys grow colder as the seasons turn, and one morning you notice something unusual. Beside the familiar flakes and hand axes lies a long, smoothed shaft of wood. It's been sharpened at one end, fire-hardened in the coals. Another figure holds a piece of bone, its tip carved to a point, its edges polished by careful scraping. Stone may be the star of prehistory, but here you see the quiet expansion of the human imagination. Tools beyond stone, wood, bone, antler. These are softer than flint, but flexible, lighter and useful in ways rock can't match. A hand axe can butcher an animal, yes, but a wooden spear tipped with a bone point can bring the animal down in the first place. You watch as hunters crouch at the forest edge, gripping their spears, their knuckles whiten, eyes fix on a passing red deer. Then thrust. The spear pierces deep. The animal staggers, collapses, and the band swarms in, flakes flashing to finish the kill. It's messy, brutal, but revolutionary. Stone cuts, bone pierces, wood extends the arm. The toolkit is diversifying. Later, near the fire, you see a woman scraping a hide with a bone tool, smoother than any flake could manage. The hide curls neatly, thin and pliable, ready to be wrapped into coverings or tied into bundles. Children gnaw on bones polished to toy-like shapes, clacking them together. Innovation is everywhere. Born not from a single genius, but from countless hands experimenting with whatever the environment offers. And here's your cheeky thought. This is humanity's first multi-material engineering. Forget plastic and steel. Your ancestors had the original DIY aisle. Rocks, sticks and bones. Sustainable, biodegradable, locally sourced. Very trendy, if you think about it. Archaeologists find these traces too. Wooden spears preserved in ancient bogs, still straight and sharp after 500,000 years. Bone awls shaped to punch holes in hides. Antler tips carved to wedge stone blades tighter into handles. These tools tell us that humans weren't limited to one resource. They adapted, combined, and improved. It also shows foresight. Wood rots, bone snaps, stone shatters, but together they compensate for each other's weaknesses. That requires planning, imagining not just the object in hand, but how different materials can be paired. A stone flake bound to a wooden shaft with sinew becomes a weapon deadlier than either alone. You sit back, watching sparks drift into the dark. Around you, the band handles a mix of tools: stone for cutting, bone for piercing, wood for thrusting. The air smells of hide, marrow, and smoke. The chatter is full of gestures as they test, compare, and share. This is no longer the simple pounding of lamequi. It's innovation on multiple fronts, creativity spilling into every resource. Intelligence has begun to see the world not as fixed, but as a palette, every material waiting to be shaped. And as the night deepens, you realize humanity's first revolution was not just in stone, but in the imagination that saw tools everywhere, in every branch, every bone, every rock. The fire tonight burns hotter than usual, the flames licking high into the dark. You sit with the group, watching sparks whirl upward, and you realize that something profound is happening here. It's not just about tools anymore. It's about what happens when fire and tools come together. Picture it. A hunter returns with a carcass, dragging the heavy limbs of an antelope. Before fire, the meat would have been chewed raw, jaw muscles straining, bellies working overtime to digest every stringy bite. But now, the hide is slit with a sharp flake, the flesh carved into strips, and those strips are laid close to the flames. The smell fills the air, rich, smoky, mouth-watering. Fat sizzles, juices drip, sparks hiss. You take a bite yourself. The texture is tender, easier to chew, the flavor is fuller. And here's the miracle: the calories are higher. Cooking breaks down proteins, softens starches, makes marrow easier to absorb. Every scrap of energy is unlocked more efficiently. A brain that once struggled to grow now has fuel to expand. Tools and fire form a partnership. The flakes cut the meat. The fire transforms it. Stone hammers crack the bones. The flames roast the marrow. The synergy is staggering. Without either, survival would have been harder. Brains smaller, nights colder. Together, they ignite an evolutionary chain reaction. You see it socially, too. Around the fire, meals are no longer rushed scrambles, hunched in fear of predators. The flames push back the night, and the group lingers. Food is shared, stories grow, children learn. The fire becomes a classroom, a stage, a sanctuary. Intelligence doesn't just expand, it accelerates, because now there is time to think. And here's your cheeky aside. Humanity's first dinner parties started here. No tablecloths, no wine glasses, but the essentials were present: food, fire, conversation, and maybe the occasional argument about who got the juiciest piece of meat. Cooking also reshapes bodies. Jaw muscles shrink, teeth become smaller, guts shorter. All that saved energy shifts upward, feeding bigger brains. Without roasted meat and softened roots, your skull would not have room for the thoughts you're having right now. Archaeological sites bear witness. Blackened hearths ringed with stone, bones split and charred, flakes scattered in the ash. These are the fingerprints of fire meeting stone, of tools and flame changing the trajectory of the species. You lean closer to the blaze, the smoke stinging your eyes, and feel the truth settle in. This was the turning point where tools stopped being just survival aids and became partners in transformation. Fire gives warmth, light, and calories. Stone gives edges, force, and precision. Together, they give humans the power to dream bigger, plan further, and push intelligence into realms no animal had entered before. You lie back as the embers glow low, the taste of roasted marrow still rich on your tongue. The stars glitter overhead, ancient and silent, and you realize, from this marriage of stone and flame, the future is born. The next day you follow the group out of camp, and for the first time, you notice they're not just carrying tools for immediate use. They're heading toward a rocky outcrop a few kilometers away. The sun beats down, dust rising in your throat, but the pace is steady. When you arrive, the sight is unmistakable. The ground is littered with flakes, broken cores, and hammerstones. This isn't a random scatter, it's a workshop. Here at the quarry, humans aren't reacting to hunger or predators. They're planning ahead. They gather raw materials, large nodules of basalt, chert, or flint, then sit in small groups, shaping them into hand axes, flakes, and scrapers. The sound is constant: crack, tap, flake, a rhythm echoing through the valley like an early factory floor. You watch one figure work with remarkable patience. He flips a stone in his hand, studies its ridges, then strikes at a precise angle. Flakes peel away in sequence, each blow calculated. The debris piles up in a fan shape at his feet, like the waste shavings of a carpenter. By the end, he has a hand axe nearly perfect in symmetry. He lifts it, examines it, nods. Then he sets it aside, not to use now, but to carry for later. This is foresight. This is thinking beyond the present. They aren't just reacting to immediate need, they're stockpiling. They know hunger will return, hunts will fail, predators will chase them off. When that moment comes, the tools will already be ready. The site itself tells you something profound: cooperation. Dozens of tools are made here, more than one group could use in a single day. Some are carried off, others left behind. Archaeologists find these ancient tool factories scattered across Africa, Europe, and Asia, evidence of communal effort, shared knowledge, and an understanding of efficiency. Children run through the scatter of flakes, picking them up, imitating the adults. One boy proudly shows off a crude shard, holding it high like treasure. His mother laughs, pockets it anyway, knowing that even the clumsiest attempt has its place. And here's your cheeky thought. You could call this the world's first manufacturing hub. No machines, no assembly lines, just rocks and hands. But the principle is the same: mass production, quality control, and even the prehistoric equivalent of inventory management. By late afternoon, hides are wrapped around piles of finished tools, tied with sinew, slung across shoulders. The band will carry them to the next camp, ready to hunt, butcher, scrape, dig. The quarry is left behind, but the mark remains. A landscape transformed by thought, by intent, by the echo of stone striking stone. As the sun sets, you sit on the edge of the site, flakes crunching under your palms, and feel the scale of it. Intelligence here is no longer momentary. It's organized, systematic, repeated. The workshop is proof that humans are not just surviving day by day, they are building patterns, routines, strategies that stretch into the future. The quarry grows silent as the group departs, but the scatter of flakes stays behind, a fossilized archive of planning minds. And you realize, the birth of industry did not begin with bronze or iron. It began here, in the dust, with stone and patience. The air is tense tonight. The group sits close around the fire, meat roasting on sticks, the crack of marrow bones echoing in the dark. But your eyes keep drifting to the edges of the camp, where sharp flakes and hand axes lie glinting faintly in the firelight. For millions of years, these tools have been used for scraping hides, cutting meat, digging roots. Yet tonight something darker flickers in your mind. These edges can cut more than animals. Stone has become a weapon. Picture a confrontation. Two bands meet at a watering hole, both desperate for the same resource. Voices rise, arms wave, stones are hefted, then chaos. A hand axe swings not at bone but at flesh. The edge bites deep. Blood spills onto the dust. The cry of pain rings out. For the first time, tools blur into weapons of dominance. Not just survival. Archaeological hints of violence appear in fractured skulls, bones pierced with stone points, skeletons showing trauma inconsistent with hunting accidents. Some died from blows that only stone tools could inflict. Intelligence, once used to eat and endure, is now turned against rivals. You watch one young male clutch a flake, its edge catching the firelight. His jaw is set, his eyes narrow. Across the flames, another stares back, hand on his own axe. It doesn't erupt tonight, but you feel it. The tension, the knowledge that sharp edges can defend as well as cut meat. But violence is only half the story. The very threat of weapons changes everything. Power now belongs not just to the strong, but to the skilled, the quick, the clever. Intelligence evolves to manage conflict, to negotiate, to intimidate without always striking. Tools reshape social order as much as they reshape carcasses. Here's your cheeky reminder. Humanity invented the arms race long before gunpowder. The first escalation wasn't swords versus shields, it was whose rock was sharper. And yes, even then, someone probably bragged, "Mine's deadlier than yours." You can see the shift in the camp. The axes are placed close at hand when the group sleeps. Spears lean within reach. Trust becomes precious, because betrayal armed with stone would be fatal. Cooperation grows tighter, but so too does caution. Intelligence stretches again, learning to weigh not just food and predators, but the danger of other humans. And yet, paradoxically, this danger forges progress. Conflict drives innovation, sharper points, stronger handles, better strategies. Groups who manage both cooperation within and defense without flourish. Those who fail vanish. Evolution is merciless, but intelligence sharpens under its weight. As the fire crackles low, you glance at the hand axe by your side. It feels heavier now, not just in your palm, but in your thoughts. This edge carved marrow, yes, but it could also end a life. The duality is chilling. Tools are no longer neutral. They carry choice, survival or domination, cooperation or destruction. You close your eyes and hear the whispers of prehistory, stone edges humming with promise and threat. Intelligence has turned its face toward power, and the world will never be the same. The night stretches long, stars scattered across the sky like sparks from ancient fires. You sit with a group, one final time, the smell of smoke and roasted marrow drifting in the cool air. Around you lie the echoes of a million strikes, flakes, hand axes, broken cores. The story of stone is not just scattered across the ground, it is carved into the human mind. From the first clumsy pounding at Lomequi, through the careful symmetry of Achillean hand axes, through bone awls and fire-hardened spears, every step has been more than survival. It has been imagination made solid. Every flake is a thought. Every tool is an idea that leapt from a mind into the world. And now, you see something even greater. These stones are not just for cutting meat or cracking bone. They are seeds. Seeds of culture, of tradition, of memory. They are proof that humans can imagine a future and prepare for it. Proof that knowledge can be taught, repeated, refined. Proof that intelligence can be carried, not in genes alone, but in the invisible thread of culture. The group gathers close, children fingering beads, elders shaping tools, hunters sharpening spears. Someone hums, someone laughs, someone gestures toward the fire. The moment feels ordinary, but you know better. This is the threshold where survival becomes civilization. The stones scattered in the dust are the ancestors of every invention to come. Plows, engines, skyscrapers, satellites. And here's your cheeky thought. When you tap on your phone screen, you're still holding a tool, not so different from those first flakes. The materials have changed, but the principle hasn't. Shaping the world with imagination. You close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of the camp. Stone against stone, fire crackling, voices murmuring. It's the oldest symphony humanity ever played. And in it, you hear the truth. The mystery of the first toolmakers isn't just about rocks. It's about the dawn of thinking itself, the spark that lit the path to everything we are today. The fire burns low, only embers glowing softly now, red as a heartbeat. The air cools, carrying the quiet rustle of grass and the far-off call of night animals. You sit still, breathing slowly, feeling the warmth of the last coals against your skin. Close your eyes. Picture those first hands at Lomequi, lifting stones awkwardly, striking by chance, then pausing to notice the sharp edge glinting in the sun. Imagine the patient rhythm of napping, flake after flake falling into the dust. Imagine the pride of a child holding his first shard, the quiet approval of an elder watching. See the glow of firelight reflecting off polished hand axes, the flicker of shadows on cave walls. Hear the laughter of children mimicking hunts, the low hums of adults sharing food, the echoes of flakes struck in ancient quarries. These are not just fragments of the past. They are the foundation of your mind, still alive in every thought, every invention, every dream. Breathe in slowly. Feel the stillness of the ancient night. The tools are quiet now, resting in the dust. but their story continues inside you. The hands that shaped stone shaped your imagination. The sparks that leapt from rock to rock still burn in the connections of your brain. Let yourself drift with them, past the danger, past the hunger, past the struggle, into the calm certainty that thought endures. Humanity has carried fire and stone across continents, across millennia, across every boundary. That same current carries you now, gentle and unbroken. So rest, knowing that you are part of that long story. Sleep with the embers of the first toolmakers glowing softly in your dreams. Good night. Sweet dreams.